One of the fun things about photography is that everybody has a name for everything, including the locations of where they put lights in the studio and on location. And this jargon that people use can be somewhat confusing because not everybody agrees to use the same word at the same time. For instance, a rim light, a kicker, and an edge light could be sort of the same thing depending on who you talk to. So today we're going to go over each of these names and hopefully things will get a little less confusing. Before we get started, for the purpose of this discussion, we're going to talk about lighting positions as hours on a clock, with the photographer standing at 6 o'clock and the subject standing in the middle. The key light or main light got their name because they are the key or main light in your setup. It's normally going to be the light that's hitting your subject's face, and it's probably going to be the light whose brightness will determine your exposure. Oftentimes, people will use a softbox or a beauty dish for this type of light. The key light is usually going to be somewhere between 4 and 8 o'clock. And if you're using a beauty dish, you don't have to put it at 6 o'clock. You really can put it wherever you'd like because it's just another modifier, like every other modifier after all. And if you place your key light at 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, it will often be referred to as a side light, which will result in split lighting, where only half of your subject's face is illuminated. I'm personally not a fan of this type of lighting, so you won't see much of it on my timeline. Mostly because I like there to be light on both of my subject's eyes. Side lighting can be very unflattering for people with bad skin because it will show the texture in their complexion. The phrase key light should not be confused with the term high key lighting, which just means that you have low contrast in your scene and fairly even light, probably with two equally bright key lights, one on your left and one on your right. A fill light is simply a light that you use to fill in the shadows of your scene. Oftentimes, it's going to be in a soft modifier and a lot darker than your key or main light, and the reason is so that it doesn't end up creating its own shadows, and it fills in the shadows from your other lights more evenly. You can also bounce a hard light off of a ceiling or a V-flat. I tend to do the former all of the time, and the choice is really up to you. If you're interested in a deep dive on fill light, I'll put a link to a video I made right here. A rim light is a light that creates a rim around your subject. Normally it's going to be placed at 12 o'clock directly behind them, and its position will be obscured by the person's head or their body, and that way you end up not seeing it in the camera. This light is going to create more of a halo around their figure, and some of it will wrap around a little bit if your subject moves to, one side or the other. But the point of this light is to separate the subject from the background. Some people like to interchange the words rim light, kicker, and edge light. The purpose of this type of light is to edge out your subject by creating a highlight around the edge of their body or their head on the same side that you've placed this kicker. This will separate your subject from the background and it will add some three-dimensionality to your shot. I personally think that the phrase rim light should only be used for a light placed at 12 o'clock, whereas an edge light or a kicker can be placed anywhere between 2 o'clock and 10 o'clock, but not 12 o'clock. If you want to control the brightness of your background, then you're going to need a background light. Not always, but in general. You can do this with anywhere between 1 and 4 lights, and I'm sure some industrious person could find a reason to use 5 or 6 or maybe even more. But let's just focus for now on using one background light. It's very common to place it behind your subject at 12 o'clock, pointed at 12 o'clock. And if you point it near the bottom of your background, it's going to create a gradient from the bottom to the top. And if you point it in the middle of your backdrop, it's going to create sort of a circle of light directly behind your subject. Most people will use a small reflector, and some will use a grid, and others may also mix it up with a gel. But if you want to light your background more evenly, you could use two lights, one on each side, one high and one low, pointed generally at the center of the background from left to right. And this will do a pretty good job. But if you want to light a white background extremely evenly, some people will use 4 lights and 4 umbrellas, one high and one low on each side. You'll also see photographers shine 1 or 2 lights into a V-flat on each side of the backdrop. A few years ago, someone new was assisting me and he thought that the hair light was the light that lit the front of the person's hair, which I could totally understand, but really a hair light is lighting the back of the person's head, which I'm sure can be very confusing. The hair light is simply a light that you've placed at 12 o'clock above your backdrop, directly above your backdrop, or boomed above and behind your subject, pointed down towards the top of their head. And this will create a highlight that will separate them from the background. It will probably also preserve detail in their hair that would otherwise have disappeared. But whatever you do with your hair light, don't have it so far forward that light from it ends up shining on the top of your subject's forehead. Anyway, guys, I hope that made sense. If you have any questions or comments or want to share with us what they call these things in the UK or down under, that would be great. Just leave those in the comments below. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, turn on the bell, all of that good stuff. And as always, stay safe, call your mom, wear your mask, and I'll talk to you soon.